Space Lab webinar series. We're looking at the newest phenomena in the SEO cosmos. This episode is part of a series of webinars running through May 14th. You can ask questions at any time during this webinar using the chat section, and we'll answer them at the end. Today's SEO Space Lab is about empowering product and content teams with SEO, how to establish an SEO Center of Excellence by applying in-house consulting practices. I'm Rebecca Borbell. I'm the content manager at Oncrawl, an award-winning technical SEO data platform, and I'll be your host for this episode. We're really pleased to welcome Murat Yatağan today. For those of you who don't know Murat, he's a confirmed growth marketer who has worked in SEO, SEM, analytics, and product management. He's led optimization and analytics teams with diverse companies such as Brainly, Global Savings Group, and even Google. Murat, it's really nice to have you with us.
Hi, Rebecca. Thank you.
I'm really excited about this webinar because it touches on a lot of things that you and I have been talking about over the past 8 or 9 months, looking at how the role of an in-house SEO extends beyond your typical SEO team. And throughout our different discussions, I know you've had brilliant ideas and concrete results on how to implement them, on how to bring diverse teams into SEO work and take SEO projects to move them to the center of a holistic product view. I really think this can contribute to change in how we look at and how we do SEO. So I'm really excited to see how you share this today. And so with that, I'll turn things over to you, Murat, to go ahead with the presentation.
Yeah, well, thank you very much. Thanks for the intro. And today I'm going to talk about this framework that I created with the help of other leaders in our organization. So the reason behind this is like not only our domains and platform is growing with regards to its monthly unique users, which was like 90 million monthly unique users when I first joined Brainly, but now we hit actually a bit more than 200 million monthly unique users. And yeah, with that growth, also our team was growing. And that's why the amount of the cross department and cross function projects as well. So we had to adapt into it. And with the help of our other executives and mainly my manager, like we come up with this solution that fits to Brainly's need. And I was thinking that this can be something actually worth talking for other leaders in other organizations that actually are responsible for SEO. And this is going to be like a different point of view about the responsibilities of SEO, how to distribute it to the entire company, and leverage SEO to enable other departments to succeed in their project. So yeah, let me jump onto the presentation that I created, a deck that supports while I'm talking over. Is it still there, or should I like share it?
It's still there. Go ahead.
Okay, perfect. And I'm just going over it. So like first, I like to start with what SEO is from my point of view. The reason is that in many companies that I worked for, and also many of my clients, like SEO was basically just a tool they used to, do some stuff to get more traffic in Google. Well, in a sense, you get traffic from Google or other search engines with the tactics and using tool set that this practice provides. For me, it's really about only two things. The first one is to understanding the user. Like, what does understanding the user mean is that, like people coming to your website with a few intentions, and like there definitely will be different segments of users, because not all the needs of the users are always going to be the same. So that's why the first thing is to understand who are my users, what do they need from my platform, and why are they here? Why do they specifically jump into that page? And then in order to understand this, you need to set up a really good analytics. You need to understand where the users are coming from and how did they leave this page, what was their journey inside your website, are they coming back or not? And the other part of that is actually because you at the end get these like massive amount of these users that are landing to your pages, and then probably becoming your clients, and then probably becoming your repeating clients. The first gateway is to get their attentions in the search engine result pages of mainly Google, and then other search engines like Yandex in Russia, or in US it's like Bing or something. So that means your pages, your website, your platform needs to make sense to search engines. And here it comes again, the data. So what does the making sense mean is that you need to adapt into the technology. You don't want to any like legacy to create any problems for your websites to not being able to be crawled by these search engines. And also you don't want your team pages to be indexed, and actually the amount of the team pages actually oversee the other, like the real amount of good content. And the first thing is again analyzing it, and enabling you and your team about understanding the underlying factors behind why your page or pages or part of the site doesn't make sense to search engines. And for that, I mean, I've been using many tools since last 12 years, but for the last 2.5 years, I mean, I mainly use Oncrawl to empower my team to go ahead and search and find these underlying factors throughout this like 60 million pages that we have in our platform in Brainy. And some of those pages are not indexable, but we want to make sure that they are staying indexed, not indexable, and still we don't actually link them that much and stuff. So at the end, what I'm trying to tell here is that the story. So you can basically say and keep thinking that SEO is just about getting traffic, or you can think it as a set of practices that actually is about helping you to understand who are your users, and then giving you the chance to provide them really good experience on your website. And then the second part is about understanding how your pages are being perceived by search engines, and then you use the set of practices to actually provide this pages that make sense to search engines. Yeah, so that increases your visibility in the search results at the end. So that was the first thing. Yeah, that was the first story I told to my company. I kept showing actually that slide to the people that were joining in our company from different departments, to the C-level, to product organization, to a markets team, like everyone. I was telling the same story. This is what I'm trying to help the company with. And then the second thing is actually you need to find your main focus, because in SEO there's like 200 things maybe you can do. Well, but in practice you cannot do them because you will have limited amount of time. So there's only 24 hours a day, and there's only 10 people you have in your organization. So you need to actually choose what you are going to work for. Where is the the biggest impact? What is the thing that you want to achieve with? So you can't just only focus on low-hanging fruits and then keep imagining what you can do in the future. Yeah, these can be like your tactical mindset, but first, you need to create this strategy, and the strategy starts with a good mission. And just as an example, it's not super specific for Brainy, the ones that actually you want to make this kind of statements specific for your company is that you need to make it data-driven and based on empirical findings. So you can't just say, you should not say stuff, because then it becomes just a superficial statement. But here, as part of the framework, I'll give you the punchline, which is let's read. SEO's main focus is, it starts with super simple like that. In company X is to make sure all domains, you can say here or 5 domains or whatever, all domains are healthy. And that healthy, I made it green because there's a step, one more deeper step to actually define what healthy means. And here what I mean is that they stay healthy. They don't create issues for either users or for bots, like search engine bots. So that's what healthy means, which actually requires then you need to define how are you going to make sure that your website stays healthy. The first thing is you need to monitor it. Yeah. The second thing is you need to create the silos actually to work in different parts of the impact factors of these things. So yeah, without going too much of a deeper dive in that, like domains are healthy, and we improve their, you can say, I don't know, monthly, year-over-year traffic growth, and you can put some numbers in there, which makes sense. Actually, you need to, I guess, by adapting to new technologies. And then you can continue, like by adapting to new technologies, comma, new tactics, comma, creating a living document of an SEO strategy. Yeah, so you basically need to put that mission statement in there. And let's say this is the mission statement. We want to improve the year-over-year traffic growth for our domains, and by adapting to new technologies. It's that's the first part, like stating the mission. And then the second part of it is to it's creating the strategy document. This is also what I did like the beginning of this year when we were making this transformation of a SEO team to an SEO Center of Excellence. So actually the team members were gone to different teams, mainly to product, mainly to global markets and content team and outreach team. So it's not like the team was dissolved, but it's more like it's transformed into what I am going to talk about in this next 40 minutes, so or 30 minutes. So then, in order to create this strategy document, because you don't want to create this SEO playbook or like a SEO blueprint or a generic SEO file, you need to create something that is tailor-made for your company, that stays there as this is the strategy. These are the top 10 things, or like 5 things or 4 things that we are going to focus. And the reason why we are going to focus for them for these 2 quarters or this entire 2020 is because then you start defining it. Then you define the other things that I will explain later on. So in that sense, you actually back up your ideas. Yeah, you make it data-driven. You back up your ideas. But how are you going to start creating the strategy file? That was actually the first struggle I had. I was like, well, there's so many things I want to do, but I have to choose a few of them. And in order to choose a few of them, start defining your focus areas first, without going into deep dive analysis and like proving yourself, coming up with more data, backing up yourself with empirical findings that you have. Instead, like try like this, take this mission statement and put it into parts of manageable parts that actually then you can create more defined or more like better definitions of them. Yeah. And here in this case, this sample case, hypothetical case, I define 4 focus areas here, like the technical SEO, which can be like the elements can be the internal linking structure of it, like the information architecture of the website, and the sitemap XMLs, which was actually the case for what I've been doing. Because as I mentioned, if you have millions of URLs, you need to you might need to actually use the power of XMLs, the sitemap XMLs, and then many more. You can go for like making sure that the pages are rendered correctly, or if you are going to AMP, you need to make sure that you are doing a smooth AMP the transformation. Then the second thing, like the second pillar of the strategy file, let's say, without actually going into the file itself, will be the content quality. Yeah, you might want to focus on the content of your page, like the website is super high quality, and how are you going to ensure the content's quality? So you might need to come up with like the on-page optimizations, like creating a playbook for on-page optimizations, or you need to make sure that you actually deduplicate the website if you already seen something on the website. Of course, this requires like you making an audit, understanding what is the website is about, what your users want, what your technologies is. I'm assuming you already know that. So this presentation is actually to the people that already knows what SEO is about, already are tenure in their job, and stepping towards executional jobs. So I'm in the level like deciding the strategy, and that's how I manage that. That's what I'm telling you. So apart from that, there are 2 other things, like building like backlink profile, taking care of it. How are you going to outreach to build super high quality links without how do you say, without actually putting your site into risk, which means you need to also make sure that you take care of the backlinks qualities, so you do regular spam checks. And then the last part is the analytics, which actually is the part that is providing, like empowering all the other parts by providing data. So, creating the monitoring systems, listening your website and your users, and then creating the frameworks to diagnose issues right on time, not like losing a few weeks or months. So let's say these are the top, 4 areas, or you can say the 4 pillars of the strategy file that you're going to work on. So then you need to understand your main stakeholders, stakeholders of growth. If your company is mainly depending on SEO as a growth, let's say 60–70% or above, you need to you can actually define the growth as just SEO here. And let's say who is working for the growth? Like, you definitely need a product team to come up with all these like the value proposition that actually why you are different to in regards to the business. Like, how do you define yourself differentiating from your competitors? That actually is the product. Like, this is the core of your business. And then comes the content. What do you provide to your users? Does it make sense when they read your copies? Actually, do they satisfy them? Can they find what they are looking for on your website? Yeah. And let's say you have a community that you manage, which is actually creating the credibility. This actually is a deciding factor for your credibility of your website. What do people communicate on your website or around your website? And then let's say you can call it engineering team, you can call it infrastructure team that enables product team to come up with those products. But here the product team is actually creating all this, all those pages, all these features, and infrastructure team actually is creating all these microservices and underlying, effective environment for them to build their product on top. So these are your main stakeholders, all right? So this list can go on. You can go on with design. You can even go on with finance. Like, I don't know, you can add anything here. But let's make it manageable for the sake of this webinar. So, and this is the main stakeholder. You see that. And this is actually what kind of the picture that we were seeing. And then, we had this centralized SEO team, and the members of these team, like as you can see, the tech SEO, on-site SEO, off-site SEO, and these people were helping other teams by, creating SEO projects and pitching them to them. So as you can see, there's more like, product actually needs to solve something. They already have their own goals, but then SEO team says, but what about them? And they are coming with their own sub goals and pitching them to them. So, it's not the most effective system in the world. So it actually creates a lot of friction and also morale issues for the people that are working in SEO by actually trying to serve the other teams. And not like serving, they need other teams for their own ideas to be implemented. But does that serve directly to the other team's goals? If that's a question mark, this system is not going to be efficient and probably not impactful. So that's why the transformation is that you need to understand who owns SEO in your organization. Is this just, making someone the director of SEO, like whatever title of SEO, makes that person the owner of SEO? Are you sure about that? Like, did you empower that person with a product team? Did you empower that person with a infrastructure team? In that case, maybe, you might create your own separate SEO projects without actually, you assigning other teams, people to your projects. Yeah, if you can manage that in an organized fashion, it doesn't have to fail. But otherwise, it will either create this morale issues problem that I previously mentioned or inefficiency. And at the end, that means fail. So that's why you need to understand who owns SEO. And if you think all departments and teams can impact SEO with their work, then why should not them be responsible for SEO? And this is, isn't it true? Like content is creating all these pages, or like they are driving the operations for content. You know, at the end they decide, the market teams decide new campaigns, all these campaign pages everywhere. And then, you know, product team is changing, like creating a funnel, let's say, they're putting some banners all around and introducing new features. And then the community team is, they just come up with a new initiative. So, you know, it's, they are impacting the SEO. Yeah? If it is them impacting the SEO by their work, then if you ask this question to your executive management team, like, why don't they own their SEO impacts by, like, produced by their own work, and we support them with a Center of Excellence team? And that was the question we come up with, and it got a pretty good answer, and that's what the picture became afterwards. So we are empowering the stakeholders now. We're not like working with them, we are working for them. And this is what we are doing. So we have this SEO Center of Excellence that I will go for the definition later on. And then we have the growth engine of our company. Let's say, you know, 80% of the company is the growth engine. Like they are either, like there is, let's say, 3 different product teams working on multiple things, and then there is content operations team, global markets team that are, you know, shaping that organized global content initiatives for international different language markets. And then there's a community team, let's say, you know, all these people serving to the clients and by interacting with them. And then there's an outreach team, which is, you know, pulling out all the outreach campaigns there and trying to, you know, gain the highest quality credits outside of the world. And let's say there's this front end and back end infrastructural team, or even machine learning teams, like that is actually providing the technology behind it. And a good SEO needs to understand the technology, like be able to read the technology, at least understand the impact of it and the basics of it, need to understand how the community evolves, need to understand how we get the backlinks and how we own the backlinks, like the responsibility of the quality of the backlinks, and then the distinction between like the quality and low quality. And then, you know, a good SEO also needs to understand what the good content is. Is this a content that what you are, like, users are looking for? Are we providing them the right quality content that is not duplicated all over the place, or like it's not thin, it's like, is something unique? And then they need to understand how the product works, because that's essentially the value of the, you know, the product. The else is, like, everything is empowering the product at the end. And that's what happens, is the SEO Center of Excellence team becomes the in-house consulting team in very short words. But what happens, what is the difference than the in-house consulting, is that it sets the SEO strategy as well. So now you might be asking, like, but if there is one SEO strategy that is, you know, defined by one person or a team, then why the other team needs to respect that? That's the challenge you have to go for. So you need to buy other people's respect and approval and acceptance to your strategy, because you cannot do everything at the same time. You have limited resources, and there are things in different levels of impact. You need to match them very well. You are the person who can see the big picture from how to create organic visibility point of view. Then you got to create the strategy, get the buy-in, and then serve the other teams. So that defines the role of the SEO Center of Excellence team. It's an executive team, like it's an executive level. And what happens is that it's first setting the strategy, as I just mentioned. That means defining the company's the tailor-made needs, yeah? Like as the mission I have just shown in the beginning of the this presentation, and then maintaining it, which means you know, SEO is like super dynamic. So like search engines make updates every now and then, like basically every day there's one update, and then they say there's core updates almost every month. So, and then the industry shifts, there's new competitor coming up, or people's need change. Well, let's remember what happened with like, COVID-19 crisis. People can, things change. So you have to adapt your strategy. It must be a living document rather than a set of strategy, like a set of 10 different things, and then you keep working on them for the next 2 years. You can't do that. So it's probably you gotta actually review that every quarter, maybe even much faster if you're in a different industry, I don't know. So that's the first thing, is setting the strategy and maintaining it. Then leading the definitions. That means you have to help other teams understand what are the SEO metrics that their work impacts. And it might need super special redefinition of them from the generic definitions. You can't, for example, just say, yeah, we got to increase traffic. You might need to be able to say a very specific term for your company, and especially for that team. Sometimes you got to invent those metrics, which I actually humbly just want to say, I've invented 3 brain-specific metrics that actually helps us to define a healthier domain. And for that, you might need to use different technologies and stuff. So that's the first thing. You need to define strategies and then give them the KPIs. The strategy, the metric is the first step to create the KPI, so that they can actually understand what deliverables they can, the outcome will be with their work that they will at the end put out there. And but just giving them the definitions and the definitions of the KPIs and metrics will be helpful. No, they need to be able to monitor them, understand them, and internalize them. So for that, you need to instrumentalize them. You need to provide these teams tools that they can monitor actually, like if they are in the right buckets when it comes to the KPI, are they taking care of what they need to do? And then you need to empower them with analysis techniques as well, because first of all, maybe your content team has never heard before index ratio, which means how many submitted indexed URL by your sitemap XML file got actually indexed, and that might show some quality issues about your content. Yeah, might, because it might show something else. It might be a technical thing, but that is your job. So you need to, you are empowering those teams by providing these tools, and you are enabling them to do their own analysis by providing them the techniques to analyze. So the last thing, the last part of this role of this kind of a team is the collaboration, which means that providing support and like this in-house consulting to these teams. And generally, it might be probably a product and content team, but it goes beyond, as I've given a few examples before. And so they can leverage SEO to succeed towards their goal. Yeah, you need to collaborate with them. So now I just want to go a bit deep dive on each of these 3 main items of role. So first of all, yeah, you got the strategy and you got all this role understanding. Now it's time to operationalize this. It's not just going to be a document that stays there. Yeah, it needs to be used. It needs to be embraced by other teams, and this is how we're going to do that. So these, you at the end want SEO projects, let's say, these ideas organically maintained by these teams. So like, because they contribute to companies' high level goals and targets, you want those projects, let's say all the SEO parts of the strategy, you want them to be organically and automatically grabbed by other teams and got internalized. And at the end, like, it might sound a bit interesting, but at the end, Center of Excellence, like SEO team, is not the team, like the hero of the company. It is a serving team. It helps other teams to succeed, because at the end, you don't create a company to be successful in SEO. You want to be successful using SEO to sell your products or be out there, sell your service. So you're not an SEO company. You're either a product company, engineering company, or something like that. So that's why you should think from that way. Otherwise, your ideas, your SEO projects needs to be bought in all the time, like each time you propose them by the executive teams, by the people that has the power to decide where they are going to invest their time and money. And you don't want to end up in there. Yeah. So you will have to create a team that actually the setup that goes that's going to be successful, sorry, for years instead of just challenge every day. So with that, this is the second part, like where it comes like all this creating the metrics, deleting the definitions of them. You got to measure the impact. You need to help people measuring the impact of what their work created for your organic visibility of your domains. That means you got to provide them all these thresholds, KPIs, all these systems, the buckets of the metrics. Like, for example, which buckets I mean, when it comes to page speed, you don't want to just tie in for like very specific nitty-gritty details of the numbers of page speed, the score numbers from Lighthouse API or something, but you might want to say, yeah, we are in good shape, green, yellow, I don't know, red. So you need to lead that. So that's why a metric doesn't become a vanity metric, but it becomes something that is powerful, that was led by an expert and owned by the executioner. Yeah, unless you are CEO/SEO. So that's why like this is the instrument that is going to help you succeed in your in your industry, and this is how you can leverage that very well. So also you need to provide the systems that all these tools for the people to check that. So that can be, for example, we use data studios, we use our own microservices, our own databases, and a few other, like you can Search Console, GA, and then Oncrawl when it comes to technical analysis and log files analysis and all these things. So you need to enable people to reach that data. Yeah, your approach should be provide them, hey, here is the instrument that you need to use to understand that actually your impact, which is bound by this metric, and this is what you gotta bring, so your KPI, and you want to track your progress towards that. So yeah, I hope it makes sense so far. And the last part was, collaboration part, which is actually the most impactful part, because all other things that I've been talking is building the systems. Yeah, it's the systems management. It's the setting up structures, setting up the frameworks, workflows, definitions, tools, and all the things. But then the end is getting people also in the same place, like, gathering in the same idea that you are helping them with this, so they got to use your help in the best possible way, because they own their SEO results, but they might not be the SEOs. That's why they need a SEO. So it's basically this. And then you provide them like tailored, data-driven, actionable in-house consulting, and you need to set this pace with them, like the working pace, catching up regularly. So let me go through the few notes that I took here. Like reaching out to everyone that you think actually will have an impact on your growth / your organic visibility must be your responsibility. You cannot just wait there for people to come to you and say, I think I have an SEO impact. No, I mean, you gotta find them and tell, hey, I know that you're working in these projects, or maybe you don't even know what they're doing. Then you gotta meet with all the leaders of your organization. But that's the first thing you have to do, and understand what all the people in your organization, the leaders, are doing. And then talk with the leaders, understand if they're impacting, and tell your concerns to them if you think few of the projects that they are running for that quarter or the next quarters might have an impact, negative or positive, on your organic visibility, then you can tell them they need to consult to you for that because you're concerned about one thing, Or at the end, at the end, the main goal is to actually make everyone in the organization directly reach out to you for anything they believe has a potential SEO impact. And this is how you're going to do that, not by creating your own team, just doing your own SEO projects. Yeah. So, and this means actually like treating the leaders as your clients. So what would you do if you are an SEO consultant and you have clients? So which I've been like for the last more than 5.5 years. You just don't, there is no, how would you say that? Reactive consulting. Yeah. So you have to be proactive with that. You need to understand what they are doing. You need to understand where they are going. You need to understand if they are following up with your strategy or are they diverting from that. And you need to shape that. You own that. You are not like, there is no reactive consulting. There is no like, just call me whenever you have a question. You can set up like that, phone call based hourly fee consulting. But if you want to build up like years of consulting business, successful consulting business, this is how you do. You need to, be proactive, and that's what I mean here. You need to treat the leaders of the organization as your clients, and then check in with them, regularly if they are happy with your support. Yeah, which might sound a bit, well, I'm a leader. Why do I check in with them? Because as I mentioned, like this, you have to check in with people to understand if they are getting enough support. Maybe you are helping like too many people at the same time. I mean, you are trying to help, and then you're missing some of them, or maybe you need to prioritize some of that. At time, as everything grows, your team might need to grow. Maybe you will need a few more analysts and managers in your team, or even directors, to improve your capacity to help other teams. Yeah. So that's why you need to check in with your stakeholders. And as you can probably feel, I'm staying in this slide longer than anyone else, any others, because that's the most challenging one. I'm giving you a tip. Like creating the systems, creating all the other parts is not easy, but it's doable. If you know what you're doing, you're gonna be able to do that with the right amount of time, investment, techniques, and knowledge. But this one is depending on many other people from different levels of organization. Yeah, so that's why this is the tricky one. It's collaboration. You gotta spend a lot of time in here, and then you have to provide them the consulting with data-driven approach. Yeah, you gotta come up with empirical insights rather than generic, super, just super high level. For example, you might just read an interesting blog article, or you've seen a tweet about something and you didn't do a deep dive and you're like, well, that's interesting, let me share it. If you do that, isn't it more confusing than helpful? So I will not really do that unless there's just an update that they already know all the underlying factors behind this update, and you just tell them there's this happening. But let's say you hear about something new and you just share it as it is, like that role to the other leader that you are cooperating. I mean, that probably will not be super helpful. So that's why you need to be like very specific and tailor-made, and then actionable. You need to provide actionable insights and actionable consulting pieces that are actually to the point. Yeah. And the last part is just, as I say, so, keep them updated, which means like if you create the right tools, they will be enabled to see the updates by themselves. But still, you are the person that has the most SEO knowledge, so it's your responsibility to keep them updated if there's a huge shift happening. Let's say after COVID crisis, Google came up with super interesting, a lot of new search appearances, like all this structured data, So, and it's your responsibility, because as we previously mentioned, your SEO strategy document is a living document, must be. You need to adapt it to that, and you need to update the people saying, hey, there's this thing, that I want you to have a little idea about this, because it might has a positive impact on this specific project that you are working towards. So that was the whole story I wanted to share with you. And thanks for listening.
Thanks, Murat. That was an extremely interesting story and a very detailed breakdown of how to develop the strategy and to put it into place. If you have any questions for Murat, you can ask them in the question section below here, and we'll ask them right away. We have one question already from Mark Valle, who says, hi, he works at a digital newspaper in Barcelona with about 3 million unique visitors per month. Are there specific SEO tools that you would recommend for each of the different focus areas that you mentioned?
Yeah, of course. Like, for example, when it comes to technical, this is because their website has millions of URLs. What I've been finding super useful was using Oncrawl for log files and crawl analysis, because I have the chance to actually combine these two, like merge log file and crawl analysis on top of each other, and set up scheduled crawls. So it makes it extremely easy also with the data visualization options they already provide. So apart from that, when it comes to content quality, I think they need to use the Search Console APIs very well, because if they have a really good sitemap structure, they can use it to understand the quality of their different content hubs by checking the ratio between the indexed URLs and submitted URLs of different content hubs, and they can see which performs better. And then checking of the crawl stats also could be super helpful. If they have a lot of different ones, they might want to gather them all together in one Late Studio dashboard or dashboard. And when it comes to backlink profile analysis, I think I will again create a new system by using Search Console's own link information data, plus adding Hrefs analytical information, merge them together, because in this way you actually ensure that actually you're not seeing, you not have any unseen URLs, you're not missing anything. So what else is left in there? Yeah, for on-page checks as well, you can use Oncrawl, because it's crawling all your website. And then what about site quality? Yeah, I think you can use tools like Grammarly to double check your language in your website is correct. And then I would advise using tools like SEMrush to find new keywords, make sure that actually your articles are targeted into one keyword specific that users are mainly looking for, interested with that piece of article. So I think, yeah, I would advise these tools.
Okay. We have a couple people asking if they can have a copy of this presentation after the webinar. Would you be willing to share that?
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, great. We'll take care of sharing that after the webinar is over. A question from Phil McDonald. What is the best way of getting product owners on board and keeping up with all of the projects in a large business? There are 10 plus project owners working on a number of projects, and getting them to keep informing SEO can be a challenge.
Absolutely. That's actually why we made this change in the inside Braining. And a few of my clients right now have the same need, but they are not in that size yet. So from your question, I can understand you're already in that size. If you have 10 product owners, this is a great opportunity for you to implement something like what I've been showing, this framework of leadership. is because to get their buy-in for your SEO projects, we always come into this fight, which is, okay, they have these goals, let's say goal X and goal Y, but then you are coming up with, help me reach my goal A, and it will help your goal X in some ways. So, this is not going to be super, how do you say, successful for both parties at the end of the day. Because if you, label a project as SEO project only, it will be hard for them to go into that because they have their own goals. I mean, and basically, then you will be like, in parentheses, you'll be stealing their team's time or resources for your own project. So that's why you need to actually take your project to the high-level executive levels. So what I did was, you have to be consistent and advocate SEO persistently. Yeah, if you have SEO ideas in these projects, keep coming with them, but go to the right people. If you go to the higher leadership levels, they will of course listen you. And if you are consistent, if you are coming with real cool projects that require some alignment with product owners, but it doesn't happen because of resource issues or something else, or goal alignments, at the end, if you keep on doing that, you show the importance of it, you talk about the same things over and over again, then you will get better attention into that. And in this way, then you can build this unified task force towards SEO goals. Either you create a specific SEO product team, which actually, like we had before, a specific SEO product team, or you need to create an SEO excellence team, or you need to create an SEO infra team that provides all these SEO tools and projects, and then the other teams choose those projects out of them. So, there are a few different options, but I think the most important thing that I can recommend is that be persistent and actively advocate your SEO ideas to high-level executives.
I think we have time for one final question here. Let's see. I have a question from Emre Erdogan. How challenging is it to onboard product and content teams with SEO metrics and KPIs? Is there a risk for them to interpret SEO data in a faulty way?
Yeah, it's quite tricky. Of course, well, first of all, that's a great question, because this actually is again your own responsibility. Like, whoever has the highest knowledge of SEO in the team and the company is responsible of leading these definitions. That goes back to this slide that what I was saying is, you need to create the definition of these SEO metrics, and then you need to help them understand the KPIs there. And there, of course, again, the third part of this role comes in, the collaboration, and you have to actively listen to them. You have to understand that you are on the same page. So if there is an alignment issue, or if you have concerns that they might misinterpret these things, then it's your responsibility to intervene and communicate to them your concerns. But at the end, it's the content and product team's responsibility to internalize and all these definitions and KPIs, and leverage SEO to reach out their goals. So I hope that makes sense.
That, at least to me, that seems like a complete answer. That's the whole idea of empowering them and then letting them be responsible for the project itself.
Yeah.
And I think that's about all we have time for today. So I'd like to thank you again, Murat, for sharing all of the different components of your successful strategy and your expertise on this subject. And I really hope we'll get a chance to talk to you again soon. And finally, the next SEO Space Labs episode will be how to use InRank to unlock internal link potential on your site, with Jenny Hallas, coming on this Thursday. So don't forget to sign up on the Oncrawl site. And thank you everyone for your participation. Have a good day and stay safe.
Thanks,
Thank
Rebecca.
you very much.
Yeah, bye.
Goodbye.